welcome to Empowering Small Businesses Stop at Nothing campaign in association with Moneycontrol and Dell Technologies, an initiative to enable and empower small and medium businesses to pivot to growth. And I'm your host, Ruchira Sharma. The topic for today is digital revolution that will upskill and scale up small and medium businesses. While various policy initiatives like Digital India, Skill India are focused on helping small businesses to become digitally literate and train their manpower to develop and compete with their global counterparts, there is definitely scope for more. Many small businesses do not even possess basic literacy skills, so creating a global digital presence through websites, mobiles, or even social networks is almost impossible for them. So clearly, the need of the hour is to upscale to bridge the gap. Digitization can help businesses to integrate into global markets and foster innovation to thrive in the new normal. So, to discuss this, we have industry experts to talk about upskilling and the increased pace of digital adoption. So, let me begin by introducing our panel today. We have with us Professor Srinivas Pingali, faculty at IIM Udaipur. We have Mr. Rabendra Saw, Chief Engineer, Automotive and Industrial Heavy Machinery, Tata Technologies. Mr. Chirag Jetani, co founder and Chief Operating Officer, Diamond Tip Blockchain, and Mr. Clint Carvello, Senior Manager, Sales, Small Businesses, Dell Technologies. So, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today. And I'd like to begin with you, Mr. Clint. With the pandemic disrupting several industries and turning business models upside down, a large number of small businesses have embraced the digital first mindset. So, what are the key developments with regards to digital adoption that you've been seeing in the small and medium businesses sector?
So, the past 2 years has been monumental in marking a perception shift as far as technology is concerned. Now, businesses view technology as an investment as opposed to just an additional resource to their operations.
Mhm.
Technology has transcended from a can have to a must have resource. Now, majority of MSMEs hesitate to adapt the latest technology due to their lack of understanding and knowledge while selecting the correct technology solution for the enterprise. We know that in the last year alone, Ruchira, is that the top three tech challenges that most SB customers in India have been facing were stability in internet bandwidth, use of personal productivity devices, and access to virtual collaboration and communication tools. Now, we all know that MSMEs are a major contributor to the Indian economy, accounting for around 30% of GDP and providing employment to over 110 million people in India. The good news is that early evidence from business surveys worldwide points that up to 70% of MSMEs
Mhm.
having intensified the use of digital technologies due to COVID-19, right? And lastly, that I should add is the enticement for businesses to fully embrace digital technology would be to provide a digital ecosystem that provides end-to-end solutions. That's one. The
All
role
right.
of credit in sustaining and expanding the business.
Mhm.
That's two. Three is expanding their digital footprint. And four is operational efficiency. And five is capacity building.
All right. Great. Thank you for sharing those insights there, Mr. Clint. Coming to you, Mr. Rabindra. So, could you, share your insights here? What are the big trends that you have seen in the MSM space post the pandemic? What are the new changes that you have witnessed? Yeah.
Ruchira, that's a very relevant question with respect to the SMEs. And SMEs really always afraid of are busy in their operational appraisal. But it is important that if they come to know the right awareness of the technology, how this technology will enable them their operation excellence in terms of what the design or manufacturing, they will surely come back. So it's important that the technology partner help them to really how their operational excellence, whether in terms of defect or productivity improvement or the rejection improvement with the technology or that will help them to kind of operational excellence. They will always come forward. So I'll suggest always that is that please come forward. This technology will help them to really improve their operational efficiency, ROI, etc. And then once they successfully done it, then they will always come back to see to use of the technology to really improve their operational excellence.
Coming to you, Mr. Chirag, SMBs who have undergone a digital transformation to keep pace with the fast evolving ecosystem, they have been able to ensure better and survive better amidst the current disruptions. but many are still struggling to actually navigate through the digital framework due to various reasons. It could be lack of liquidity, it could be unwillingness to learn the right technology or the right tools. So could you share with us what do you think are the primary reasons for the slow pace of digital adoption among small businesses, even when they realize it is very important?
Yes, honestly speaking, when we speak about the adoption and how it can be adopted, the key area is the adaptability of and the mindset of the people within the SMB. Like
Hmm.
most of the business, as we have seen, like when we see startups coming to
All
SMBs,
right.
like scaling up, and
Mm-hmm.
we have seen like family businesses. Like in India, we have a lot of businesses that are run by families, and they are upgrading. But the mindset has to be very clear in terms of the adoption, how the
Right.
new tech can be adopted, and
Mm-hmm.
there is also a concern, a bit of concern when it comes in terms of like the big giants, like selling tech to the small SMBs in place. So whenever you see like big giants when they are selling something, so it takes the same time and effort to sell something to a small company to or to a larger corporation. So the efforts that the companies, the big giants put to sell the tech to various small companies, it
Mm-hmm.
is something that is not that much profitable to them. And whenever we see any new technology being adopted by a small company, so it becomes a good strategy for the survival. So every small company is looking for a survival, and first thing when they get survive within the space, they are looking to scale up.
All
So
right.
the people need to change the mindset, the leaders need to change the mindset, and that's how a lot of adoption can be seen, and that's how the faster scaling up of SMBs can happen. And I think the government is doing a lot, and there are a lot of companies helping the small companies. So it is a bit slow, but definitely we'll see a big push where we see the adaptability going up post
Mm-hmm.
pandemic. So there are a lot of positives within the
All right.
space, and I think with this space will there will be a good growth and scale in the industry.
Yes, there definitely needs to be, we need to move in the right direction when it comes to digital adoption. But coming to you, Professor Srinivas, cutting edge technologies across domains have helped small and medium businesses across various areas of business growth, whether it's employee development or customer centricity. Yet, as we discussed earlier, digital uptake is lower. So, the common perception is that SMBs are very operation focused to have the bandwidth to actually grow their skills or develop their skills. So, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah. So first, thank you for having me on this panel, and I agree with the comments echoed by the other panelists. But I don't think the answer is as simple as that, Chirana. So I have spent almost 20 years providing services to SMEs across the globe, and I've spent at least 3 years researching SMEs. And if I look at, so I measure the digital maturity index of SMEs, and if I were to look at it pre-pandemic, it was closer to one, which is the bottom of the scale.
Yes.
And post-pandemic, it has gone to almost two, 2.5. So they're kind of reaching the midpoint very, very rapidly, right? And
Hmm.
there is this perception that SMEs are more focused on the efficiency-related digital transformations rather than the growth-related digital transformations. And in fact, this is a question that I personally researched, and I also published an article on this.
All right.
I don't think it's fully true. So yes, at a broad level, you can say that business to business SMEs are more focused on the efficiency side because they are operations focused. They have cost points to deliver to. They are a lot of them are in the manufacturing sector. So
Mhm.
if you have to generalize, we can say that business to business SMEs are more focused on the operational side. But
All
when you
right.
look at business to consumer SMEs, they
Mhm.
are focused on growth. So I don't think we can really generalize that across the entire gamut.
All right.
So there is a difference depending on where the SMEs are focused and what their customers are
Sure.
looking for.
All right. Thank you for that, Professor. But coming back to you, Mr. Devendra, how do you think the current government initiatives are working towards this? There are so many of them which are empowering small and medium business enterprises. But what are the other changes that you would like to see very soon for this sector?
Yes, perfectly valid question. That lot of governments is taking the initiative to set up the technology centers across the part of the India, and
Mhm.
that is helping into the kind of SMEs to come and see the technology, how the technology will help to solve their problems, They are coming and trying it out and seeing it. So the most important thing, what SME also should do it, they should do the two things basically. One is that SMEs in the within the organization, a lot of workshop and the seminar they should conduct, not only limited to the working people or the people who are
Mhm.
getting the upskill, but also the leadership team and the top management. They should know that which
Okay.
technology is going to help them, which technology is going to solve the business problem, which is quite relevant. And based on that, that will help. And then the rest of the employee can work on that. What technology will help their problem to get into the kind of upscaling and then upscaling, because learn, unlearn, and relearn is the kind of the which we see in the during the COVID, the post pandemic, that will help to solve their problem.
All right. Professor Srinivas, what are your thoughts here? You've done so much of research on SMEs. So, how are the current government initiatives being a tech enabler to catalyze the growth in the SME sector?
Over the last year, I've studied over 200 SMEs across various sectors in the country and spent a lot of time with them, and I conduct a lot of workshops. The
Mm-hmm.
unfortunate reality is that a very small percentage of SMEs are even aware of the support that the government provides. So there is a
Okay.
serious awareness issue, and there is
Mm-hmm.
also a trust issue, that is there some vested interest in this, right? So there seems to be a lot of skepticism of this support. Obviously,
All
on the
right.
financial side, post-pandemic, there's a lot of support from the government, and I think that is highly appreciated. But
Mm-hmm.
specifically on the digital transformation side, I think there has been less. There's been a greater reluctance to accept what some of the government initiatives are. So one of the things we did is to go back and study, saying what are the challenges that SMEs have, and I think unless you get a good grasp of that, it's very difficult to figure out what support they require. And we classified the issues that SMEs have in terms of the digital transformation into three broad categories. So one is what we call the organizational context, the second is what we call the technology context,
All
and the
right.
third is the environmental context. And as we looked at it, what we realized is that where the government can really support is primarily on the environmental context, which is a third large element. And again, within environment, there are almost 10 variables that matter. So
Mm-hmm.
really, I think it's too much of an expectation that the government will solve all of these issues. Maybe at best they can solve a part of a third of the overall issue. There are a lot of things other agencies need to do, which will really impact both the organizational context and the technology context. And I guess we'll discuss that as we go forward in this discussion.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing those insights, Professor. Mr. Chirag, what are your thoughts under the ambit of Digital India? The government is empowering the small and medium enterprises. The Ministry of MSME has developed technology centers across the country to assist them in, in their ability to actually access advanced technologies. So, what are the changes or the new policies that you feel would expedite the digitization process in this sector?
Yes, and I think that's a very good point, and I would like to add to Professor Srinivasan's words that like most of the small businesses are not aware of what is being offered by the government.
All
So
right.
there are a lot of people, a lot of companies trying to help. So small scale businesses, the government is trying to help, but there is a requirement of a centralized platform which makes people aware about what are the benefits, how they can benefit out of it. So a
Lack of
centralized
awareness.
platform would definitely, yes, a centralized platform would definitely make every leaders aware about what are the offerings, what are how the government is willing to help, how the other companies are willing to help, and that
Mhm.
makes very clear understanding in terms of how the new tech can be implemented and how they can benefit out of it. Even let's say even a small company, they can benefit a
Mhm.
lot out of the government's benefits that they are providing. So, but people need to be aware about it, and for that, I think there is a requirement of a centralized platform which helps to do that.
Mr. Clint, I'd like to bring in some numbers here. Between 2014 and 2020, the global spend towards digital transformation reached over 5.5 trillion pounds. But shockingly, a lot of this investment was wasted. In fact, some numbers suggest that in 2018 alone, some companies spent $900 billion without seeing the right results. That's 70% of the digital transformation budget going down the drain. So it is obvious that choosing the right partner is critical. And it's not just about leveraging technologies, the partnership is very crucial. So, how do small businesses ensure a seamless and successful partnership while navigating through the digital framework?
Sure, sure. Thanks for that. Okay, let me be a little technical to begin with, right? So let's consider the framework of digital transformation. Digital transformation for some organizations could simply involve moving from on-premise to off-premise infrastructure.
Mhm.
Then there is the key role that humans or employees play. 90% of digital transformation takes place to make sure that lives of people, get easier in some respect. Then there is the existing capabilities of the team, for example, IT staff, technical expertise.
All right.
How is data managed in house? The tech or the IT hardware and software requirements, a need for security compliance requirements, for example, right? So choosing the right technology partner, Ruchira, is paramount in this digital first era. These businesses need to set up their requirements as well as objectives to understand which partner will help them to scale.
All right.
Now, moreover, if these businesses are using different platforms offered by their partner, they
Mhm.
must always think of building on it by bringing their own skills, own capabilities, which raises the power of trust with customers.
All right.
Now, let me throw you some numbers, right? This shift is already visible as SMBs in India have gone digital to ensure customer safety and convenience and to deepen relationship. Now, according to Salesforce,
Mhm.
82% of small businesses believe the operational shift they have made will benefit their business in the long run. So
Correct.
finding the right technology partner will help these businesses in optimizing finances, one,
Mhm.
improving productivity, expanding to new markets, and acquiring new customers. So at Dell Technologies, we have a
Mhm.
deep understanding of pain points of SBs, and we unique, Ruchira, that as far as SBs are concerned, right? Dell caters to a lot of SBs, especially.
Yeah.
Hence,
Mhm.
we're introducing various initiatives that help them not only overcome the hurdles of tech adoption, but also understand what works best for their needs.
All right. Great. Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Clint. Mr. Chirag, this is for you. A study conducted by the University of London found that 61% of employees are actually uneasy about digital change. So, did you also face such apprehensions at your own workforce? And do you think this is also an opportunity to learn and to do better?
I would not say it's the same in terms of what we are facing and what we are uh, having within our company or what our peer competitors are doing. So
Mm.
employees are the first person who would bring new ideas, and that's how the company gets to grow much more larger in terms of
All right.
both the revenues, in terms of innovation. So at our company, we have a very flexible policy where every employee needs to learn some new things, and we have free courses that they can take, and
Mhm.
they are bringing a lot of innovative ideas, and we are a very good listener at our company. So we listen to all the ideas, we try to implement as much as possible, and what we believe is like whenever if the whole workforce working for a same product or a single product, if they
Mhm.
are not happy with it, how would the product be more successful? And in terms
All right.
of uh, other companies as well, like when so we have seen westernization of the companies where people talk about liberal work culture, where they talk about free work culture, where they can have
Mhm.
no hierarchy in place. But that is something very difficult to achieve in countries like India. So a lot of startups are trying to do that. A lot of small businesses are trying to do that. But actually, to have that mindset, it all
Mhm.
depends on the leadership. It all depends on the team leads within the company. So you need to have an open and innovative mindset, which makes your employees more adaptable to what they want to learn, what they want to achieve in over the next 5 to 10 years. And the company try to tends to think about, okay, they have some task in place.
Mhm.
For that particular task, they train their employees accordingly. But we as a company, we are quite open and quite free. Like even we
All
have
right.
few employees where they are like, we are a tech company. Few
Mhm.
employees that we have in the company, they are learning Bharatnatyam. So that is also one of the learning curves, and that creates a mindset to learn new
Yeah.
things. And that is where I think more than the Western world, India would come up in next 5 to 10 years, where people will start more
Mhm.
thinking about the innovation And we have seen that like India as a country is exporting most of the tech, and most of the tech employees are outside
Absolutely.
in every part of the world. So I think that is a very positive sign, and particularly individually as a person, I'm very positive about what is happening, what needs to be done. So, uh, like we can always analyze the data, we can always analyze the numbers, but we need to go to the grassroots and implement it. So that is the best solution that we can have.
Great. Those were some very interesting points. Employee engagement in various ways. And of course, upskilling is a lifelong process. We need to create a culture of innovation and upskilling, which has to start from the leadership, as you mentioned. Professor Srinivas, what are your thoughts here? How can these apprehensions be addressed in small businesses?
Yeah. So, Ruchira, if you see most reports, they say that 70 to 80% of digital transformations fail the first time around. And a lot of it is to do with change management. It is not so much the choice of technology or anything like that.
It's a
It's all
cultural
about change
shift.
management. Yeah, it's a culture. It's about change management and culture shift, and that's true whether it's a large company or an SME.
All
But
right.
what we found in our studies is that some of the challenges that SMEs face are very unique, especially in emerging markets, because a lot of them are family businesses.
Mhm.
So two things that we found. One is that uh, wherever millennials have taken over the company across generations, their ability to adapt to digital is much faster. But we
Mhm.
also found the converse to be true, where if a company is realizing that unless they get into the digital world, they will not survive, it's also leading to a leadership transition from the previous generation to the millennial generation. So both sides of it are something very unique to the Indian context. And if you look at the millennial leadership of a lot of the SMEs, especially the traditional family run businesses, many of them
Mhm.
are educated abroad or in good business schools or good engineering schools. So they are able to bring that change much faster than maybe the previous generation. So that's one at a leadership level. At
All
an
right.
employee level, the challenges that SMEs in emerging markets face are again
Mhm.
very unique in the sense that there is this whole concept of family loyalty, and these are employees are my family, and how can I retrain them? How can I put them in new positions? How can I let them go? So a lot of these family business related
Yes.
challenges start becoming very prominent when it comes to SMEs. They don't
Mhm.
have formal processes like large
In
companies, like
place.
an appraisal process and evaluation process, upskilling process. So that's what makes it change management a lot
Even
more
more
difficult when
difficult.
it comes to SMEs.
And
Definitely.
Ruchira, if you allow me, I would like to add to that because I can relate definitely to what Professor just mentioned. So when
Sure.
we say like family or traditional businesses in India, we have most of the small businesses and family
They are
businesses,
family
and I can relate to myself as well. Like I come from an family business background, but
businesses.
what we have seen, like basically, my family is in a gems and jewelry business since generations. So what
All right.
happens is when there is a shift in leadership, there is
Mhm.
not actually a shift in leadership. You until and unless you reach that point, the leadership doesn't changes. So that is a mindset, that the mentality the previous generation has, and that is
Okay.
a very fact about it. So to change to that, I think that is where when I was talking about a centralized platform, and
Mhm.
sir mentioned that we need to have a process in place where big giants, they know what exactly the process in terms of their appraisal, in terms of their KPIs. But the small businesses, they don't know that, they don't understand that process because they're not trained about it. So that is why a centralized platform really would make them more understand what is the process, how to follow that process. Because you can study a lot in a university, you can study multiple
Mhm.
books in the university, but when it comes to practicality of the situation, you need to have that open mindset to adapt to things, because every industry is different. No university will teach you how to do a business. And let's say if
Nice.
someone is very qualified, they will end up working for someone else who is very less qualified. So that is a reality of what we have in India. So that is why a central platform, maybe I think professors like leaders should come together and put up a proposal to the government.
A
Let's build a
platform.
central platform which everyone
Mhm.
can use it. Then the webinars like this that can be posted on that platform, so the people can start understanding the things, and that would at least
That
bring
they're aware of.
India 20, yeah, 20 to 30 years ahead of what we are right now.
Great. Interesting suggestions over there, Mr. Chirag. Mr. Ravindra, coming to you. We talk a lot about digital adoption, but we still talk very little about skills. and it is very important to upscale from the front office to the back office. So how do you ensure a culture, as both our co-panelists mentioned, of constant and continuous upskilling?
The kind of processes which you adopt and is really work with the customer which we work, whether a small or
Mm.
medium or OEMs. So we follow a very systematic approach. We say that see, try, and then buy the technology.
All right.
When we see the C means that we have got the technology, in the plates. You see all the technology, you have the presentation. We as a technology partner, we provide the presentation, and we provide that what kind of technology will help to solve a different problem. The first step is that we do the C, then try. Any of the SMEs, I will strongly recommend that you try it out. Take it out a pilot project. Take it out your the top priority pain area challenges where you feel that it will help to solve their problem so that their top line or bottom line or business excellence happen or their ROI gives. So we identify the problem, and with the technology we make them enable to solve them. And the kind of that there are many technology, but technology which is suitable to solve them, we adopt them, and we involve the SMEs, the employees, the workforce to get in the part of that and try to work on digital technology to solve that. So once they solve that and he is satisfied, then we go for the buy. We recommend the customer to adopt this technology and implement the technology by scaling up. The same technology can be scaled up for the horizontal and vertical deployment. So this is see, try, and buy really help. So this will give you
Mhm.
the comfort and the confidence to the leadership, to the management. Yes, this digital technology helping and is benefit to the organization. So this is the
All right.
methodology framework we set, and then based on that, then we proceed to the kind of taking any and other challenge, the pain area which help. So on the buying happen, what first comes on the board, it goes smoothly. And it is also the because we are adopting the changes. The change management is always a difficult, like professor we spoke about it, that so this is the way we build the confidence, build the top management and the workforces.
Mhm.
Another important thing which we always recommend in terms of the digital technology adoption, whether they are in the design area or the manufacturing area or the engineering service or IT area, what we
Mhm.
recommend that you set up the base of the entire digital technology. Whether we business technology, like you go for the product life cycle manager, where the entire CAD data or engineering data or the data or the document and change management happen. That is the base level we set up that any SEM always record, because now the solutions are available, very customized fluent solutions are available, which the your SMEs can adopt it, and top of that, whatever their pain and challenge area, they can work it and realize the benefit. And
All
the
right.
third thing which we always recommend, Ruchira, and is it really help the SME, is that you pay what you need it and use the technology only. No need to explain that, because the SME is very,
So
very
it is both.
important, the cost factor.
Absolutely.
So that is where that we recommend implement, and this is what I recommend always based on my experience.
Great. Thank you for those insights. Mr. Klein, coming to you, how would you define a digital ready workforce and how does one ensure the same? Because companies definitely need to enable their employees to learn how to not only leverage new technologies, but also implement very targeted upskilling. So, what are your thoughts here?
So,
Definitely.
so just go back to your questions, Sujira, is COVID has transcended the role of digital adoption from a temporary solution to a long-term norm. While
Mhm.
digital adoption has always been the future, the pandemic has been a major factor in speeding up the rate of adoption for organizations. The disruptive ecosystem now puts forth a strong need for organizations to develop a robust tech infrastructure. And the first step to this is empowering the workforce with the right technology. Therefore, to ensure digital readiness, they must shift their focus towards enabling their workforce with user-friendly technology, while
All right.
which basically assists them with the right kind of efficiency. Now, McKinsey lists the following key skill sets to enable employees to learn how to leverage new technology and implement targeted upskilling. And they are
Okay.
expanding the ability to operate in a fully digital environment, develop cognitive skills to ensure that critical players can respond to the need for redesign and innovation, strengthen
Mhm.
social and emotional skills to ensure effective collaboration, and lastly, build adaptability and resilience skills to thrive during an evolving business situation.
All
So,
right.
as per Dell Technologies, uh,
Mhm.
which is basically a recent insight paper titled Leading the Next Hybrid Workforce, Leaders need to demonstrate empathy and intent, take the time to evaluate the successes and lessons from their hybrid work journey, make
Mm-hmm.
efforts to build trust with the employees, and
100.
demonstrate care and compassion towards their workforce as they adjust to remote and flexible work. The insights in the paper also calls for more deliberate efforts towards culture building and
Mm-hmm.
learning and development to preserve and spark creativity,
100.
innovation, and collaboration.
Great. So, very interesting points over
Ruchira,
there. Yes, yes. Go
sorry,
on.
Ruchira, sorry to interrupt, but
No, no,
just
go on.
wanted to let Clint and Chirag know that they'll be happy to know that as I am Udaipur and our research, based on our research, we have actually submitted a proposal to the government on what the platform should look like and
Mm-hmm.
what are the services that need to be available on it and who are the partners that need to be part of the ecosystem. So there is work that is already happening on that. So I'm really glad to hear it from you because that is
Yes,
hearing it from the
good,
horse.
Professor.
Yes, Professor. And a small suggestion, if I may give you, like the platforms should definitely help the government and understand the small businesses understand their partners. So what happens is like, see, all of us, all the companies, everyone is working a lot. Governments are working a lot. But now what happens is like if a fintech needs to understand a bank, they don't have a single platform. If a bank needs to understand a fintech, they are not
Absolutely.
able to do it. So what companies and the banks, they've waste a lot of resources and money in just understanding and evaluating a business that they want to work with. But if with a
Mm-hmm.
centralized platform where everything has already been evaluated and the fintechs and the banks and all the small businesses can understand and work with each other, so it would revolutionize the way the businesses work. And that's, I think that's going to be beneficial a lot.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Ruchira,
Collaboration
is it
is the
okay
way
if I
forward.
react to that?
Absolutely. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
so great, right? I mean, so we call this the one digital platform, and so basically it has three layers. So we have the SME policy, which is really at the government level,
Mm-hmm.
and then below that we have split it, and this is purely based on all the work that we have done with SMEs. We've kind of split it into three parts: what we call the awareness side, the planning side, and the implementation and support side. And we have actually identified the types of partners that will be required for each one of these phases. So, Ruchira, sometime earlier you had said partners, right? We've actually deconstructed that word partner to very specific tasks and support that SMEs would require because, again, we don't want to generalize. We want to kind of get into the nitty gritty of what would be required.
Great. And that's probably needed because, as we all agree, small businesses have their very own, very unique challenges. So, moving on to the next question, and this I would like Professor and Mr. Chirag, Mr. Rabindra, any of you can take this. Attracting the best talent is another issue that small businesses face. So, typically the digital workforce is picked up by large MNCs because they have the muscle and the money to recruit and retain them. So, if small and medium businesses have to race ahead, they need the right kind of manpower. So, what are the problems that you are facing here, and how are you addressing them?
So I'll just like a minute on that, if everyone agrees. So instead of like I don't analyze as much as professor and all the experienced people on the panel do, but for us as a company, it is very simple. Hire
Mm-hmm.
the craziest minds, and they would do the best innovative work that is possible. So whenever someone like when I mean what I mean about being crazy is like they need to have that passion about doing that particular work. Even it may be a small designing work, even it may be like developing key techs like blockchain, like implementing
Right.
various source codes and everything. So until and unless that employee has that mindset, it's not always about money. Like money is an important factor, and we have all seen a very evolving market in place where you have someone sitting in your company for let's say 3 months, 4 months, and a big giant pull
Hmm.
takes a big magnet and pulls them out.
Yeah.
So whenever you have those crazy people with that passion, then you would have that most efficient workforce in place, and it doesn't have to be the skills is something that can be obtained with the experience. Like if you have experienced leaders, the employees can be trained a lot. But it is important to have the correct pathway in terms of what an employee wants to achieve. And until and unless you hire such kind of people, it becomes very difficult for the company to grow. That's what we as a company believe in.
Great. Mr. Ravindra, what are your thoughts? Where and how are SMBs going to find the right talent? And more importantly, how are they going to retain them?
I'll just add it to the Chirag. One of the very important thing which we see is now the government taking initiative and going to the academia, etc., to the curiosity.
Mhm.
We need to create the curiosity among the budding engineers at the academia levels. Yes, this should be because of what technologies they are there. They need to get aware. They need to attend and learn about it. That's what we see, that lot of initiative at the academia level from the government side, and each academia is taking instant initiative to set up the center of excellence. The different
Mhm.
technology they are adopting. They're adopting for we talk about the virtual reality, or talk about the industry 4.0, or talk about the IoT, or manufacturing is being talked about. And the most important thing the education policy is helping is the kind of multidisciplinary culture, because now no more that engineers or the budding engineers comes out to be the focus to the one area, multidisciplinary. So this kind
Mhm.
of the innovation critical things is all are being they're built into about. It will take time, but now the budding engineers are getting ready and readily available, will be available to our SMEs to get this from directly from there.
All right, great. Mr. Glenn, coming back to you, if you look at the other side of the coin, there is a lack of customized products also. And I'd like to quote an SMB owner here that they have mentioned that all the vendors did was take the product and sell to larger companies, posted it on cloud, and claimed that it was an SME product because it is probably too cumbersome for them to implement something that is customized. So, do you think that
Yes.
tech companies in the market are willing to innovate, design, and cater specifically to the needs of small businesses?
Yes, Ruchira, absolutely. There are tech companies in India that are willing to innovate, design, and cater to the SME market. Let me give you some examples, right? And there are maybe hundreds that I can refer to. But there's a company headquartered here in Bangalore, for example, that's developing intelligent waterless solar panel cleaning robot, which
All right.
helps customers increase solar plant efficiency and save huge amounts of water.
Mm-hmm.
Another company, which is also headquartered in Bangalore, is leading end to end consulting and implementation with a laser focus on robotic process automation that we refer to as RPA, and also into artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, another another company headquartered in Hyderabad that's focused on product development, data technology, and digital services.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Now, as far as your Dell Technologies is concerned, Ruchira, is entrepreneurship is a part of a DNA, and we are committed to helping small businesses navigate today's economic uncertainties.
Mm-hmm.
We aim to help organizations achieve more with the help of technology. We are supporting their digital transformation journey by offering customized solutions. Let me just take the next 2 minutes to just talk about some of the programs that we have. The small business advisory program, for example, that provides companies under 100 employees free
Mm-hmm.
assistance on how to plan for and optimize IT investments. They are
Sure.
highly trained specialists with close to 160 plus hours of training and are dedicated and available when required through either email, chat, or phone. Then there is, we have a unique rewards program exclusively catered to small businesses where SBs can avail discount coupons for their purchases. And lastly, we also, working closely with these businesses to evaluate if certain investments can help reduce cost,
Mm-hmm.
solve business issues, and drive growth.
All right. Great. Professor?
Richard, I
Yes.
would like to add with the Clint. It's a very nice example and very relevant question you asked, especially for the SMEs. What we
Mm-hmm.
see, the technology or the product or the software which were available earlier, those were available primarily to keeping the mind of the OEMs, the need and requirement, and
Mm-hmm.
those are typically the very costly and etc. Now, each of the OEM, a technology solution provider, they are coming up with a dedicated, customized, trimmed down version which meets the requirement of SMEs in terms of technology, whether they are in the design area or the manufacturing area or engineering service provider area. Now technologies are available, and those are also available. Options are available on the cloud version. Whatever the
Mm-hmm.
SMEs want to get, those will meet the need of the SMEs and get those licenses and the solution which they need to solve their kind of problem, the kind of business they are having. This is really appreciated that the kind of the technology the partners are coming out to address specifically the SMEs.
All right. Professor
Yeah,
Srinivas,
and if
just
I
quickly
can,
coming to you before we
sorry,
move on
just
to
to
the
add to
question.
that, I did
Yes,
write
yes.
an article on this, which is called "Too Small to Serve, Too Large to Ignore: SMEs,
All
the
right.
New Frontier of Digital Vendors." So I request the participants to take a look at it because I do address this in quite amount of detail, and I completely agree that taking a existing solution and putting it on the cloud is not an SME solution at all. And I talk
Correct.
extensively about it in that article.
All right, great. Just before we wrap up, one last question for all of you. Do you think there is a visible shift in the lending pattern when it comes to the small and medium businesses sector in terms of digital adaptability? So, what are your thoughts, Professor? If you'd like to start.
Yeah. Uh, there is a lot of lending that's happening to SMEs, and I think, especially pandemic related, I think even today the government announced some new relief, but I don't see much linkage to digital. The two seem to be running in parallel, which
Hmm.
I don't think is a good idea because then all you're doing is funding SMEs. Yes, I know there is an immediate need to survive the pandemic, and that's why the government is coming up with all these initiatives. But if you don't make SMEs stronger by the end of this process, it will not get better. So I think that the linkages between this funding and digital transformation needs to be a lot stronger than what it is today.
All right. Mr. Chirag, what are your thoughts here?
See, for me, it is very simple, and I always relate to what I am doing and relate to what companies like our level what they are doing. So
Hmm.
whenever we talk about lending, but now when we see a big shift in terms of how the valuations are being created in India, it's like westernizing world. We have seen various TV shows that are coming up where startups are presenting themselves. So I think governments on, let's say, when we talk about the manufacturing sector, no, that is something not related to software thing. So
Hmm.
lending is a very important thing, and I think government is doing a lot, and the banks are also ready to do it because they have seen that shift. We have seen even a lot of banks investing in uh, very upcoming companies where where they have a good amount of potential. So
All right.
lending is definitely important, but I agree with the professor. Like when you give a lot of lending to the companies, we need to be always careful about how much long that would last. So we are not exactly helping by providing the lending. If a company has a real good potential, there might be a case where they need to survive to some stages like pandemic what we have. But if there is a good amount of potential in a company, then definitely that company would have a lot of other options than just surviving on a lending. And lending is the last option as we as a company, like we as a company don't believe in taking any debt financing or anything. So what it makes
All right.
is it makes company very complacent about how they need to go about their business.
Sure. Mr. Rabindra, what are your thoughts? What does the future look like when it comes to a lending pattern for the sector?
Yeah. So what we see in the last the 2 years in the pandemic, the adoption of the digital technology and awareness is getting increased, and SMEs are coming forward to really the kind of looking solution how that digital technology will help, and we
Hmm.
see that growing trend, and adoption will certainly is going to increase in the future. But only is think that they should take the baby steps, small things, realize the benefit, and move up and scale up and horizontally and vertically deploy.
All right, great. Mr. Clint, your closing comments. What does the future look like, and what are the imperatives for the small and medium businesses to upskill and survive in the new normal?
So, so I think with this whole digital transformation that is happening, which is, you know, I mean, just find my suggestion to MSMEs is find that right digital partner, and that's where basically Dell Technologies adds a value.
Hmm.
We work with a lot of SMEs right now, and like just going back to one of your previous question, right? As far as lending is concerned, right? We work very closely with MSMEs, and we
Hmm.
offer some kind of assistance for them with for a couple of days as far as their purchase is concerned, and in building their whole IT is concerned.
All right, great. So thank you so much, gentlemen, for sharing your learnings and your insights. And just to sum up, the MSME sector, as we all know, is a huge catalyst for economic growth of the country. SMEs alone contribute about 45% to India's GDP. And going forward, they definitely need to create a strong digital ecosystem to foster growth And for that, they need to acquire the right tools, the right partner, and the right talent. So thank you all for joining in, and thank you to our audience for watching this very special show.